Hello everyone. Today I will be featuring something a bit different. I've been keeping an eye out on War Thunder and their foray into naval battles for quite a while, honestly. And last week I decided, you know what? Let's send an email to them and ask them if they could hook me up with some closed beta access, since the whole naval thing is still in closed beta, although you can get the access by buying some premiums from their store, some boat premiums. And they hooked me up with a bunch of the premiums to give me access to it. Now, that doesn't mean that this is a paid promotion, because, well, I haven't agreed to anything. There's no contract, no nothing, they haven't paid me to do this. So if something is absolutely stupid and broken, I will call it absolutely stupid and broken, and if something is good, then it's because I actually think it's good. So very much like with World of Warships, this will be very much my, just my opinion without any outside influences. What you're watching right now here is actually the arcade experience. There's two different battle types, naval battle types. There's realistic battles and there's arcade battles. This is arcade battles, and this is probably the only clip I will be showing of arcade battles. It's very much a simplified version of the realistic battles, and honestly, if you want the arcade naval experience, then you should play World of Warships. World of Warships does the arcade thing a lot better. That's because World of Warships is from the ground up built as a very arcadey experience. It's a fun arcade game, even though you get some people on the forums talking about realism and blah blah blah. My battleship should be buffed because realistically blah blah blah. Those kind of people are idiots and you should ignore them, and it's a very arcadey game. Now, if you're interested in War Thunder, it should probably be because of the realistic battle experience, because that is certainly very different from what World of Warships offers, and it has all of the downsides, but it also has a fair amount of upsides, and it's actually pretty damn fun at times. Let's actually jump into a realistic battle right away. The ship I'm playing here is a Cowl, aka I think it's pretty much a Fletcher, for those that come from World of Warships. It's a destroyer type. Now the first thing you might notice is that the ships feel much bigger and much larger, and that's mostly because, well, it's a much more realistic scale. In World of Warships you get the idea that destroyers are these small little torpedo boats that honestly turn on a dime, accelerate on a dime, and so forth, forgetting that these were actually massive ships. And War Thunder absolutely has this scale down much better. In the top right, of course, you can also see the hits, and that's another thing that I quite like a lot, and that's of course the detailed ship and damage models. They are extremely detailed. All the internals have been modeled, and if your shells hit certain parts of the ship, they have different effects depending on what parts they break, and I really like that. Another thing though that was extremely confusing at the start, and that's the way the aiming works. First of all, when you target someone, you lock onto someone, you see that rectangle around someone. When you lock onto someone, it gives you a distance measured, and it gives you a shooting distance with correction. That's your initial one, but you have to manually adjust your shooting distance. So if the ship moves towards you, you have to adjust it so that you're shooting closer, and if you move away, you have to adjust it so you're shooting further away. World of Warships of course does this automatically. You just aim above the target and your shells will land further away, or you aim below and they will land closer. But it doesn't work like that in War Thunder. You have to manually constantly keep an eye out on that shooting distance, and you have to constantly manually adjust it depending on what the enemy or what your own ship does. Another thing that was also really tricky to learn was momentum of shells, because War Thunder originally, I mean, it's mostly about planes, so there's this built-in momentum. Depending on your own movements affect your shells. This doesn't exist in World of Warships at all. In World of Warships, your shells go exactly where your crosshair is, completely regardless of your own movement. In War Thunder though, if you're moving to the left and you shoot, then your shells will deviate to the left based on how fast your ship is moving. And if you start reversing, so you're moving to the right, once again your shells will deviate to the right. And this makes it very tricky to actually aim and consistently hit targets, because, for example, if you're moving fast to the left, and you see a stationary target. You can't put your crosshair right on top of the stationary target, but you have to lead based on your own movement. And that of course means that it adds a whole other dynamic to how the gunplay works, because for example, actively dodging, turning left, right, and weaving back and forth, well, that's a great thing in World of Warships. Doing it in War Thunder, I mean, it makes you a lot harder to hit. The problem is it also makes it so much harder to shoot. In fact, the easiest way of shooting is to stand still, because then you don't have to deal with any momentum and you can kind of just point and click, just like in World of Warships. But the problem is, of course, if you're standing still, then you're also very easy to hit in return. So, for example, here you see I'm reversing. So I'm reversing as fast as that guy is pushing up. So I have to basically put my crosshair right on top of him. Now I'm changing course, I'm accelerating, and now you can see that even though I haven't changed my crosshair position at all, suddenly my shells are going much further to the left. They're falling much further to the left, and the faster I go, the more to the left they will go, depending on my own momentum. So these are things that make the gunplay significantly more challenging in War Thunder, because you have the shooting distance correction you constantly have to adjust, and you have to keep in mind your own momentum, which means you have to keep in mind which direction you are currently moving in. So I like it, because once again, it's a completely different experience, and it's for people who want the arcade experience. Obviously they will not enjoy this at all. But for people who are looking for a bit more in-depth, a bit more detail in this, it is a pretty damn interesting experience. Adding such detailed damage models doesn't come without its own problems though. Ammo racks. What ammo racking means is hitting the ammo stacks on an enemy ship, plane, tank, whatever, and blowing up the entire ship because you detonated the ammunition. Now, at close ranges, you can specifically target it. As you can see here, there's a certain amount of skill involved because of how challenging the shooting normally is. So at close ranges, you can specifically target the ammo rack part of the ship, and I've been able to quite successfully delete ships using this. And I don't really have too much of an issue with this. I'm perfectly okay with this idea of being able to destroy it. In actuality, though, it becomes quite a frustrating experience when you realize that you oftentimes get completely randomly hit in the ammo rack, and you also completely randomly hit other ships in the ammo rack without even really meaning to. You see, I kill that guy, I lock onto the second guy who's like 5.5 kilometers away, I shoot one volley at him before I switch to a closer target. I wasn't particularly aiming for any part of his ship, I just shot at him while I was switching target. My shells hit his ammo rack, and his full HP destroyer just got deleted out of the battle. And in my opinion, that's just stupid. I'm sorry, but that's just such a it's like detonations in World of Warships. I understand why they're there, but oh my lord, it's such an unfun mechanic when it happens to you. It's such a frustrating mechanic because there's not really much you can do about it, and especially at long range, it's not because it's skill. There's so much RNG, so much randomness because of all the mechanics. It's just a random shell that happened to hit that specific spot and ended the game. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. I understand. In fact, there's another thing that no one actually told me. That's probably very obvious to War Thunder players, like veteran War Thunder players, but you should lower the amount of ammunition you bring to a battle, because the less ammunition you have, the less ammo there is in your ammo rack to shoot. Now, I had no idea that this was a thing, and in fact, it was only because someone in my Twitch chat told me, oh, by the way, you shouldn't bring that much ammo. And once again, this is obvious to all the War Thunder players, but for someone who's never played the game, complete news. And had no idea, because there's infinite ammo in World Warships. Once again, very arcadey, so a completely different experience. So that is something to keep in mind. And there's no detonation flags you can slot in this game either to prevent this from happening, which is, of course, it's a frustrating RNG mechanic, and I've never been a fan of frustrating RNG mechanics. That's just my 2 cents on that whole thing. Coming into War Thunder, I was told the game was going to be ugly. I was told that visually it wasn't going to be anywhere near, and honestly I have to disagree. The surroundings, the water, everything around it, like the visuals are, in my opinion, one of the strengths of this game. And more importantly, the attention to detail. The water splashes as your shells land, the tracers crossing the seas, and like the constant everything is rendered, everything is shown, and something like landing torpedoes on a target is so incredibly satisfying. Pieces flying apart from the ship, and sometimes they split in two and one part flies off somewhere and you can see it sink, splash in the water and sink. It is extremely satisfying. And when you do play as a plane, for example, seeing the way the AA lights up the sky, like diving into this rain of anti-air, especially when the AA in World of Warships has been visually so nerfed, getting this visual treat to see the way the AA actually looks and how terrifying it is a very satisfying experience. You can see the torps fall into the water, activate as soon as they splash into the water, slam into that destroyer and actually kill him. So I managed to YOLO torp him. And more than that, for gameplay, it's important to keep your eyes out. You can actually see this torpedo boat. You can see him drop the torpedo into the water. Even though there's no UI indication, you can actually see the torpedo cross the water. You can see how, thanks to the sunlight glinting off the water, we can actually see the torpedo make its way towards us. And thanks to that, we were able to stop and reverse in time, and we were able to dodge it. So keeping your eyes out gives you so much information. And one of my when I started the game, one of my major complaints was that how useless the minimap kind of is, because the minimap doesn't give you ship positions and such things. It doesn't give you that information, but in return you have to constantly keep your eye out on your surroundings. Like you can see the destroyers near me, they're opening up. You can see the AA flying through the sky, so it tells me there's a plane somewhere in that direction, and my AA opens up as well. So it's a constant visual treat, and a lot of the focus that you had to play on the minimap in World of Warships has been transferred to actually paying attention to the game itself. And that is absolutely a strength. I think less time staring at a minimap, because, well, ships in World of Warships it's kind of wonky. Ships render on the minimap before they render in game, so a lot of the time you sit there staring at your minimap instead of actually appreciating the visuals in the game. And visuals plus damage model, for example, this plane I'm shooting down, I shot him down with my AA, and the plane falls down burning and crashes into my ship, and because it crashed into my ship, it actually started a fire that I had to repair. So this constant attention to detail. And for example, landing torps, I'm torping this destroyer. I only hit his nose, so it's not going to be a one-shot kill. I destroyed the front compartment of that destroyer ship, and there's no notification that I got a flooding or anything. But if you actually keep an eye out on the ship, if you look at the ship, you can see that he's steadily, in fact, listing to the side where the torpedo hit, and he's steadily sinking into the water. And if he doesn't quickly repair that breach, if he can even do it in time, then the ship is actually going to sink, and he's going to drown completely. You can see it. You see the way he's listing and about to completely sink. And I love this. This is not the UI telling you you got a flooding, but this is you looking at the enemy ship and actually seeing the flooding in action. Now, just because I enjoy the visuals doesn't mean I agree with all their design decisions, because some of them are absolutely horrendously stupid, especially the way you deal with damage to your ship. Now, if the only way you can repair flooding or damage to your ship, or even extinguish fires, is if you research it. So your stock ship is completely unable to repair flooding, completely unable to repair any fires, and this is horrendous because fires in this game are not like fires in World of Warships. Fires absolutely guaranteed burn down your ship. So for example here, I YOLO into the middle cap, I managed to flip it from enemy cap to neutral. I torpedo one of the bigger ships, I shoot down the other. I notice that a plane is actually coming in for a strike on me from my left, so I turn to dodge his incoming torpedo drop. So this is an amazing play in a stock ship, and I get punished because I still haven't been able to research fire extinguishing, so my ship burns down. So this was by no fault of my own, it was just I happened to get unlucky that my ship was set on fire, which is something that actually happens very often. So not only when you play stock ships in this game are you already struggling to deal with ships that basically are fully upgraded and you have all your stock things, your slower turret traverse, slower ships, slower handling, all of this. But also if you get set on fire by any stray shell, you instantly die. And there's nothing you can do about it. Absolutely nothing you can do about it. Worst of all, fire extinguishing is a tier 2 perk, so you have to get 2 tier 1 perks or 2 tier 1 modifications before you can actually research it. And this is such a horrible way of punishing players for no reason whatsoever. Like, when you get set on fire, you just sit there and you go, well, there's nothing I can do. My ship is dead. I have no power anymore. Like, all I can do is sit here and watch my ship burn to death. This is so horribly anti-player base. I can't imagine what made them think this was a good idea. I've spoken to people about this, and I haven't heard anyone who thought this was even remotely a good idea. This makes you not want to play anymore. This makes you want to rage quit because a random stray shell sets you on fire, then you burn down. Like, what the fuck? Now, while I do like that you can manually control your secondaries and AA, most of the time they are automatic, and obviously this needs some work. My secondaries open up here and start shooting the island on my right. This obviously tells me there's a ship behind this island, even though I can't lock onto him, even though I haven't visually seen him in any way, because my automated secondaries are ducking like mad. I basically have a built-in wall hack that is informing me, oh, by the way, there's ships on the other side, which of course makes any sort of ambush play significantly harder because, well, this clearly needs a significant amount of optimization. So it's obvious that the game is still in beta, especially these parts, because secondaries just randomly opening up on islands. It's like giving you, oh, by the way, watch out, there's enemies on the other side. Here's a free double kill for you, my friend. Shouldn't work like this. I love the attention to detail. I love the way the secondaries fire and stuff, but execution-wise, still a lot of work to do. Other parts of the game that clearly also need a lot of work is just balancing in general. I mean, they put in the ships, but I don't think they put too much balancing effort into it. The ship I'm playing right here is an AA Theory, and it's the same tier as the ship I'm shooting. Okay, it's tier 1, and the power difference between me and all these ships I'm fighting against is so absurdly ridiculous that it just makes you laugh. Like, this thing is completely broken in comparison. It's slow. Its only downside is really that it's slow. Other than that, the firepower is absolutely monstrous, ridiculous firepower, and it's great against ships. It's great against planes. I mean, any other ship, he peeks at me and I instantly just blap him with this 20 mils. It's incredibly tanky. I've just been eating damage for ages in this thing without any issues, and I've just been slaughtering ships left, right, and center. Every time I play this ship, I get multiple multi-kills, and obviously that's a sign of things being pretty damn broken. Another thing to keep in mind is that the game does a really poor job of informing you how to fix your own matchmaking. Now, for old War Thunder veterans, figuring out how to get the matchmaking working is probably pretty obvious, but for me, I had no idea. My first game, I was constantly fighting like ships multiple tiers higher than I was. I accidentally double killed someone. I tried to shoot the ship in the front, I accidentally killed the ship in the back, I think. And once again, this kind of balance issues do exist. Anyway, what I was saying was, when I first started playing, I accidentally ended up fighting tier 4s in my tier 1 and just being completely slaughtered because I had a premium ship in my lineup. It wasn't until I was streaming the game and someone in my chat told me, hey Flamu, put your crew on holiday and you will get much better matchmaking because you won't get matched into that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, I had no idea. Thank you very much. The game doesn't tell you. The game doesn't inform you that your ship lineup is bad, that you're about to get horrible matchmaking. There's no real information. So that is obviously going to be a huge issue. There's also, of course, the issue that the map design is extremely questionable. Base camping is extremely common in this game, and that's my Twitch chat told me, oh, that's just a War Thunder thing, but I don't care if it's a War Thunder thing. It's a sign of really poor map design. If you're able to base camp the enemy team, then obviously something has gone very wrong on the way, and I really dislike it. I really dislike it because spawning and then being surrounded by enemy ships instantly, that's just stupid. Once again, very anti-fun. They might as well put some sort of unscouted minefield ahead. You can't push any further in this direction because if you do, you will push into an unscouted minefield and your ship will explode. Very simple, like a simple preventive measure that would make perfect sense from any sort of realistic point of view, and it would prevent just the horrible gameplay that I see very often. If you get if one team gets early kills in a match, then they push into the enemy spawn and they instantly base base camp them, spawn camp them, and instantly spawn kill any new spawners, and the game just ends very, very quickly. It's there's nothing fun about that. There's nothing enjoyable from either side. Oh, looks like this silly game ended. And I mean, once again, I think this was my second game in this ship. And just to give you an idea, look at the rewards I start getting here. Like the medals, like a ching, a ching, a ching, a ching. There's completely broken balance-wise. So that is something to keep in mind. If you're searching for some perfect balance game, War Thunder in its current state, absolutely not the game you are looking for. Let me actually show you an example of the spawn camp issue. Well, looks like I've died. Let's select our torpedo boat, let's select our spawn, and let's spawn into battle. Hooray! Let's go. We can maybe mount a comeback. We're down 3 caps, but maybe we can mount a comeback. Oh, there's a destroyer behind my spawn position. By the time it takes me to turn my low-tier ship around, the destroyer of course spots me and instantly blaps me out of the water. So, and that kind of thing starts happening a lot. And we lost the battle. Insult to injury. So, map design absolutely does need a fair amount of work. But ultimately, what's my opinion on the game? I think it has massive potential. I think it has absolutely massive potential. The visuals, the damage models, like overall the gameplay, the feel of the gameplay, it's very different from World of Warships, but it's still very enjoyable. And I've been having a ton of fun, even with all the issues, the frustrating fires, this terrible spawn camping, and all these issues along the way, and things you have to learn and improve and adapt upon. I've still enjoyed it. I think it's been a ton of fun. There are issues, there are obvious issues, but the potential this game has is, in my opinion, very, very high. And I will keep leveling this a bit more because I want to unlock the light cruisers, because I haven't played any of the light cruisers yet. The highest I've played is Destroyer, and you can actually get access to the Emden in the game, and that's something I certainly want to check out. So do you guys want me to post some additional vids on War Thunder Naval? Let me know in the comments below if you feel like I should post some additional ones. And before I actually call this short introduction, I'm rushing a ship here on my flank, and I'm trying to launch torpedoes at him because I want to show you guys one last thing. My torpedoes look good. My torpedoes look fantastic. Are they going to hit? Did my torps just go through him? Oh, that is absolute bullshit. Or that's at least what I thought. That's when I actually discovered one last thing I need to highlight. The absolutely amazing replay system. Oh my god, World of Warships, why can't you have a replay system like this? You can speed it up to 16x, you can jump back and forth in the replay, you can go into free cam, you can go into slow motion. I'm literally showing it, I'm in free cam right now, and I'm showing that same battle I just fought. I'm showing it in slow motion to get an idea of where my torps actually went. Was it just because of my point of view that it looked like they dodged, or what was going on? This kind of, like, for content creators, for stuff wanting to do, people wanting to do these amazing like highlight vids or clips or intros or anything, this kind of replay control is amazing. I am so jealous. In World of Warships, if you even jump forward, and we can actually see here that it was just because of my point of view, it looked like the torp went through his ship, and in the replay we can actually see that they went past him. And when you compare World of Warships like engine and replay mechanics to this, I become so jealous. I can even freeze frame it. I just press space and I freeze frame it. Even the shells in mid-air are frozen. The water splashes, the smoke, the foam at the front of the ship, everything. It's like a scene from The Matrix. I am so jealous of this feature. This is absolutely fucking amazing, and I really wish this was in World of Warships because this is so cool, and like the kind of stuff like content creators could make with this could blow my mind. Ultimately though, I think this game has a lot of potential, and I'm certainly going to keep an eye out for it. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. It became a bit longer than I expected, but I did want to cover a fair amount of topics in this. I will talk to you guys later, and I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary.